Green Bay listed as needing a postseason breakthrough. The Packers tied for the third most playoff games over the last 10 years, but no rings to show for it. They've had success early in the playoffs, going 6-2 in the first game, but from then on out, they've gone just 1-6. RC, what addition would you like to see in Green Bay this offseason to help them get over the hump here?
I like Myles Garrett. Listen, his team wasn't great on the back end when we're talking about outside, but adding an extra rusher to opposite Rashawn Gary, what they were doing with Coach Athlete on the defensive side of the ball would be huge. And then offensively, I don't necessarily think they need a one at the wide receiver, but if you can go find someone to win those one-on-one 50-50 balls while Christian Watson heals himself up. To me, it's go add Myles Garrett, do something at the corner position, and maybe add one more piece offensively to an already top-tier young skill room.
Let's go to Pittsburgh. Jeremy Fowler listing the Steelers as teetering contenders. The Steelers struggled on offense last season, no matter who was under center there. Minus 28 EPA was the worst in the NFL among teams to finish with a winning record. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields were sacked on nearly 9% of their dropbacks, the fifth highest rate in the league. Graz, the Steelers end the season like they started with quarterback questions. What can you tell us about their plans this offseason?
It'll be similar to last offseason. The Steelers will turn over every stone and look at every potential option at quarterback before deciding which one makes sense for them, or in the case of last year, which two made sense for them. But it's not out of the question that they could bring back Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. There are a lot of people in that building that like what Fields showed early in the year, but it's also very possible they move on from both and bring in someone from the outside.
Okay, RC, obviously, quarterback's a big deal, right? Sorry. You want me to continue or you want to finish? All right, I'll continue.
You got it.
Quarterback's a big deal here, and we know it. We know that's how you feel. But let's go to a place that you know, the Steelers' defense. What must they do here in the offseason to help the defense?
Man, listen, we was handing out touchdowns and big plays the way folks was handing out hand grenades and hurricanes down in New Orleans for Super Bowl week. It was absolutely atrocious down the stretch. I mean, every time there was a run, you're turning your head if you're on the defensive line because you're watching people run by you in the secondary, giving up big pass plays, yards after the ball thrown over your head. They need to tighten up the screws on the defensive side of the football as well. And here's the difficult part. This is the defense that played well early on in the season when TJ Watt was healthy on the back end when you're turning the football over, a young Joey Porter Jr. making plays. All of those things changed down the stretch. And even a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick wasn't playing at his normal all-pro level. Those are things that need to be fixed for quarterback, because even in figuring it out, you can't win giving up plays on defense the way they were down the stretch of that season.
Yeah, Ryan, they kind of, I feel like, I wouldn't say escaped blame, but everybody was so focused on the offensive struggles, and they were struggles at the end of the year, that it almost got a little bit overlooked how bad the secondary was playing, particularly in the playoff game that they lost. And these were issues that, as you said, sort of started cropping up throughout the season. It was really behind that defensive line, which played very well, of course. Joey Porter Jr., I still believe, is a very talented man cover, but he needs to play with more discipline next year, cannot have some of those penalties. And then opposite him, they have to find another answer, somebody who is capable of playing man coverage like that. There are options in free agency that I think are interesting. I would look to a guy like Charvarius Ward, San Francisco, as being a good system fit. And then on the back end, too, again, Minkah Fitzpatrick, incredible player, not one of his best seasons at all. So I just feel like they have to continue to get, younger, faster, but also add some experience as well, because if they just ran it back with the same effort we saw at the end of last year, the results would be the same.
Yeah, keep in mind the Steelers, they've lost six straight playoff games, tied with the Dolphins for the longest active streak in the NFL. And the big question is, what's their identity? We know what they want it to be, but what really is their true identity? We have not seen that defense and running game stand up and step up with
think this is a talented roster. We played here week 3. We took it down to a minute left to finally score a touchdown when I was in Philadelphia. It was a really challenging game. And so throughout this season, we've seen it. Obviously, injuries were a challenge this year, and those things sometimes are challenging, uncontrollable circumstances. And so we recognize there's so much good going on here. We want to embrace the good, don't lose any of the good, while building this thing the right way.
Back here with Mina, Arcee, and Graz. Mina, Kellen Moore sounds confident, and he should be because you're a head coach. You're taking over a football team. But is this roster good enough here for what he's saying?
I'd be laughing because it'd be funny if he was like, look, I'll be honest with y'all, we are in cap hell. The defense is old. Our offensive line is a problem.
100%.
I'm stuck with Derek Carr. He's not going to be honest about the actual state of the New Orleans Saints. I do think his point about the injuries on offense are notable, particularly Chris Olave, and I do think this offense can improve.
Yeah.
The defense is where you just got to get younger, faster, better. Unfortunately, you don't have the ability to do so in free agency, so they're going to have to draft well. And this is, by the way, the same GM who has not drafted well the last 2 years, but retained his job. Kellen Moore is going to have to lean very heavily on him because that's not his side of the ball, and it's the side of the ball with the biggest problems, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the difficult part, right? You think about like Alontae Taylor, maybe Paulson Adebo, who was injured last year. Those are 2 young, good players. But outside of them, there's no hope coming down the pike for this team. And so that's what scares me if I'm Kellen Moore. And Mina is right. Like, if we would have gave him some truth serum, that would have been a totally different press conference for him. He would have been like, hey, man, we in trouble. They're going to have to be patient with me. We're going to have to retool this roster. But that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to take Kellen getting some older players to play closer to their potential and offensively finding a way to mask some of the deficiencies on the offensive line and also in their quarterback, Derek Carr.
Okay, let's get to the quarterback here, Graz. Moore was non-committal when talking about Derek Carr. What more can you tell us about Carr's future in New Orleans, especially that potential cap hit?
Well, we're going to know in about a month, Kevin, because on the 3rd day of the league year, which is March 14th or 15th, depending how that's calculated, the remaining $30 million of Derek Carr's $40 million for 2025 becomes guaranteed. As of now, he's guaranteed $10 million no matter what. The cap hit is a little over $51 million. If they cut him, they still have a dead money charge of about $50 million. So, do you move on and take that hit? Do you talk about restructuring him and knocking this year's cap number down? But that likely means committing to him beyond this year. So you have to make the decision of whether you want to do that. So Derek Carr, the way his contract is built, forces the Saints to make a decision by that 3rd day of the league year, and it's something that is high on their priority list right now.
They started so well to start September, and you got some hope there from the offense. The Saints lost all 7 games that Carr did not play last season, averaging just 13 points per game. Still to come as we continue here on NFL Live, a heartbreaking loss in the playoffs. What's still missing for the Ravens? Here what improvements Kyle Hamilton told Mina the team needs to make.
Mới đầu tôi với Mỹ tôi sang tôi đạp tôi cãi là mọi người ơi, đầu tiên là màu vàng nha. Mẹ cứ liệu hồn nói cuộc sống của mẹ không xong với chị đâu.